Good evening, dear brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus. Welcome once again to our online journey of Mission Month 2025 in the Archdiocese of Bangalore. Over the past 3 days, we have been blessed with inspiring reflections and missionary witnesses from Archbishop Peter Machado's heartfelt message to Bishops Arukira Satish Kumar's pastoral zeal and the moving testimony of the missionaries of charity at Nirmala Shishu Bhavana. Each of them has reminded us that mission begins where love meets service. Tonight, our reflection centers on a very special mission, the mission of caring for the elderly poor. In a world that often forgets them, the Church remembers that the aged are living treasures of faith. Serving them is not only an act of charity, but a proclamation of the gospel itself. Every smile offered, every hand held, and every act of compassion becomes a way of saying Christ is here among us. Tonight, we welcome the Little Sisters of the Poor, whose service is a hymn of humble love for the elderly. Here in our Archdiocese, the sisters continue their legacy through their Home for the Aged, where they care for the elderly with tenderness, dignity, and joy. Their quiet mission speaks louder than words. It tells the world that every life, no matter how frail, is precious in the eyes of God. Let us now listen to our beloved Bishop as he shares their missionary work and the blessings of their ministry.
It's an old age home. The old age home run by the sisters, the Little Sisters of the Poor. Perhaps many of them know them. In fact, many of the aged would like to go to the house of the Little Sisters of the Poor in the Richmond town, Hosur Road, and many people not only are welcomed there but also spend their time in old age and die in peace there. And so there is a lot of request for those sisters. Unfortunately, they cannot accommodate everybody. I am told that about 120 that they can accommodate, and it is full always. We have to remember that the sisters, Little Sisters of the Poor, are celebrating 125 years this year. They came to India. First they came to Calcutta in 1879, in 1882, and they came to Bangalore in 1900. And that time Bishop Kleiner of Mysore invited them, and not only that, it was in the St. Patrick's Parish, and the priest called A.M. Tabard, of Patrick's parish priest, welcomed them, and that's how they started the St. Joseph's Home for the Senior Citizens. And the inspiration of this congregation goes to a saint called Saint Jean Jugan. She was born in 1792 in France, and she lost her father at the age of 4. She was brought up with difficulty by her mother, and of course that time they wanted her to get married, but she said no. I don't want to get married. I want to offer my life to the Lord as such. And somewhere in the year 1840, first time we are told that she welcomed a blind, poor, old woman in her house. You can imagine a girl, a woman, accepts another old woman who is helpless. And that's how her story starts. And slowly she opened her house. In 1840, a house of 26 guests, she call it. They are not beggars. They are not people who seek the charity of the people, but she considers them as guests with dignity. And she founded this congregation of the Little Sisters of the Poor. And though she died in 1879, but before her death, she saw to it that the congregation was recognized in 1852. And the Holy Father gave permission to her and confirmation of her congregation. As I said, they are in India in almost 15 places, 15 houses they have, And we are privileged to have St. Joseph's House of the Aged, run by the Little Sisters of the Poor at Richmond Town. We consider is at the jewel of the Archdiocese. Needless to say, they live on providence. They live on providence of the people. Someone or other comes to help them. There are some benefactors who help them. There are some people who are kind and generous to them. But at the same time, I open my heart to the other people to say that the sisters have a lot of needs to take care of 120 old people. 50 of them, as you know, the 50 of them have to be personally attended to by wheelchair, one person a lot, which means that perhaps even 50 persons are needed to take care of these 120 people, and there are a lot of expenses. I am sure there are people in Bangalore who will be generous, who will be reaching out to them, to the needs of these aged and the needs of the sisters also. God bless all those who help our sisters.
Thank you, dear sisters, for your inspiring work in the Archdiocese. And I also thank our beloved Bishop for bringing forth their ministry to this online Mission Month 2025. Through your lives, we see that mission is not just about going out, but about stooping low, serving with gentleness, humility, and faith. Your witness reminds us that the gospel is most powerfully preached through the love. Tomorrow, dear friends, our focus shifts to the young priests of our Archdiocese and their missionary experiences. We will hear from the inspiring story of Father Pawan Anthony, who served at St. Margaret Mary Parish in Anuppur in the Diocese of Jabalpur. His experience will show us how the missionary spirit continues to burn brightly among our young priests who bring Christ's presence to new lands and unfamiliar communities. And now, as part of our Mission Month celebration, we are delighted to bring you tonight's feature film on St. Francis of Assisi, whose feast we celebrate today. St. Francis of Assisi is a model of joyful simplicity and total surrender to God's will. He became a missionary not through grand words, but through his way of life, living the gospel in poverty, peace, and profound love for all creation. His famous prayer, as we all pray and sing, "Lord, make me your instrument of peace," continues to echo through the centuries, calling each of us to be peacemakers and servants of the poor. As we watch this film, may we be inspired to embrace the Franciscan spirit of humility and joy, and to live our missionary calling with open hearts. Dear friends, today's message is clear. Mission is love that serves, peace that heals, and joy that gives. The Little Sisters of the Poor and St. Francis of Assisi together reminds us that holiness is found in simple acts of charity and in a heart completely surrendered to God. Thank you for joining us tonight. Stay with us for the special movie on St. Francis of Assisi, and may his example inspire us to bring peace, simplicity, and love into our world. Good night, God bless you, and see you tomorrow.